As a musician, there's a lot of different income streams that you can tap into. A buddy of mine, Vinny Miranda, asked me to do a video about budgeting and the different income streams that musicians can tap into. This video will cover the income sources. The budgeting will come in a later video. So I wanted to break it down and list off all the opportunities that I know of that musicians are making an income from. So the first and arguably the most entertaining one is actually performing. So this can fall under basically two different categories. So you have people that are playing covers and also people that are playing original music. And generally, for most musicians, the covers will be at a higher rate, paid at a higher rate than original music. Obviously, original music, once it gets to a point though, will overcome the covers. But to get into that, top 1% is quite difficult, but you should definitely aim for that if you're really enjoying your original music, and you shouldn't let anyone let you stop that. So definitely go for that. But that being said, if you want to be realistic, basically you have the cover gigs that you do are going to be paying generally a consistent rate. I only have experience gigging in Australia and specifically Adelaide, so the rates might fluctuate, but you're probably looking around at least roughly about $200 for 3 sets per person in a band. That's a pretty consistent price. You can go a little bit above, a little bit below, but just for example, I don't want to speak for everyone, but this is in my experience. And an originals gig can fluctuate between free to maybe $50 a member, or $20, or if you're doing say like a fringe show, or you're booking your own fans, you're bringing your own fans and bringing tickets, then you're going to be able to charge ticket entry and you can make more. But the important thing there is you have to put in a lot more work to actually get the people through the door to come in and actually pay money for this. So there's that to consider. When you're a cover band, you don't have to put in as much effort into marketing and building your audience and engaging your fans. You should try and do that, and the cover bands that do that will be much more successful and be earning more money, but it's imperative to do that if you're playing original music. So that covers basically the two main forums for performance. However, you can also get contracted to do shows here and there. So for example, I'm living in Vietnam now, and I'll put a little bit of footage in this video to show you around the place. And I'm living in Ho Chi Minh City, and I have a group of musicians that I play with here. We played at a music store a couple weeks ago, our first gig here, and we also are playing at an event in Vung Tau, which is a big event set up to basically bring together the people that fought for the Vietnam War together, and there's a big concert there. So because I had some contacts here, I could set that up and made the contacts, and now I have this really cool gig coming up in August, so I'm really looking forward to that. And this type of work you can find anywhere if you know the right people and are friendly and professional. You can find these gigs that kind of come up, filling in spots as a band member or whatnot, and these can be very rewarding. Another big one is to play in musicals and theatre productions. So if you can read and you're a proficient player in that regard, then playing in musicals and the theatre is quite rewarding as well. I don't personally have experience with that, but I know a lot of people that have done that and enjoy it. And depending on the production, it can actually pay pretty well as well. So that's pretty much your performance, live performance basis covered. The second one is to be in session work, and this is very very niche, and there's probably not a lot of people that are making a living as session musicians, at least not in Adelaide. Possibly, you know, in Australia and Sydney, maybe there's a bit more work there, and Melbourne and States, of course. But with the ease of recording nowadays, there's not a lot of people that are actually pulling in their whole income from session work. So the thing here, I think, the takeaway is when you can do some session work, you know, take it. And the cool thing with that is you can get the royalties that come along with the recording. So that's a cool little perk, as well as, you know, getting the experience of being in the studio. And to me, that's a great environment to be in as a musician. So, and the other thing that comes with that is that you can actually be a producer, or you can be an editor, sound engineer, and these are all related to the music industry, which is obviously what Crafty Muso is about. So you could do live sound, you could do be a sound engineer in a studio. I won't go too far into them because I think I want to make this video not too long, so I'll just mention that, yeah, you can do live sound and you can do sound in the studio, and the rates for this will definitely vary based on your experience and where you're working, if you're working for yourself, if you're working for another studio. So that one will be very, you know, it'll fluctuate very, very much. One really common way to earn money as a musician is, of course, to teach. And I myself am teaching here in Vietnam, but as an English teacher actually. But I have a lot of experience teaching bass back in Adelaide, and it's a rewarding experience. Most people seem to enjoy it. I for one enjoyed it, and it's a very consistent way to make a living. You don't have to worry about the next gig coming up, and you can just have that security knowing that there's a steady income coming in. The hardest part here is to get new students and maintain students. So you're looking at keeping their interest, but also teaching them things. But I'll cover that in another video, and I've kind of covered it a little bit on Crafty Muso in an article. If you search music teaching, it'll probably come up in the search results. So there's, yeah, that. So education, and your rates will differ based on your experience and based on where you're teaching. I was teaching at a high school, and that was quite good because it was in a fixed location. I didn't have to travel around to too many houses, or any houses. But I also taught outside of that. So at least for bass, it's hard to get a lot of students because most are learning guitar, vocals, drums, and it's a bit harder to build the numbers. But when you have some students, you want to make sure that you're delivering the best education you can and really stimulating their growth. Okay, so those are the main four. So we've got performing musicians, ones that work in studios. We've got live sound, so for sound engineers, and we've got education. So the other ones that you can have are very, very much more niche-y. So let's get into them. So we can have composers, so composing for orchestras. And I know of one guy that I was in touch with who's actually selling chorale music on his website now. And I haven't been in touch with him recently, but I would be very curious to see how that's going for him. And he did some commission pieces and is making some money from that. Another guy that I interviewed on Crafty Muso, Chris Larkin, is doing sound design for movies and video games. So check out that interview if that's something that you'd be interested in. This is obviously a smaller niche, but it's, I think, a pretty rewarding choice of career. Of course, then there's also the jobs that revolve around the music industry, like being a label manager or band manager. All of these jobs revolve around the music industry, but as a musician, they're probably a bit more removed from the music side of things. So if you're one of those types of people that really likes organizing things, then maybe something like this is really good for you if you like to be around the music industry. Another one which could be considered for musicians is people that do repairs and maintenance on guitars, or luthiers. And this is an industry where there's a decent amount of work because people want professionals to handle their instruments. So that's also another one to look into. And hopefully in the future I'll have an interview with a luthier here in Vietnam. So stay tuned for that one. So I hope these give you some kind of idea of the different things you can do as a musician. And if you thought I forgot any glaringly obvious ones, which I may have and probably have, please let me know and I'll cover them in another video, maybe a follow-up to this one. And thanks for watching. If you liked it, subscribe, like it, share it on Facebook. So send me some questions. Vinny Miranda sent the one in today for this video. And if you have more questions that you want to ask, please send it through. Just message me on Crafty Muso Facebook. It's probably the best way. And I'll look forward to hearing from you guys.